It's way too early, but the Bills' path to the number one seed couldn't appear more favorable. We're going to break it all down for you today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of the Herd Mentality Substack, co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, co-host of the NFL First Read Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Locked On Bills is a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Well, folks, welcome in. The Buffalo Bills are 3-0, and that's a great spot to be, especially when the Ravens are 1-2, and you have a head-to-head win, and the Chiefs are 1-2, and the only other 3-0 teams in the AFC are the Chargers and Colts. The rest of the division has one win combined between the Patriots, Jets, and Dolphins. The Bills are looking good. But obviously, it's way early. It's way early. We've seen a lot happen in the NFL. Teams can go on runs and injuries can happen. But as you look at this Bills team right now, it is positioned very well for a run at the number one seed. And boy, I want that number one seed. Not only do you start your playoff journey in the divisional round, but the benefit of not playing in the wild card round is so huge. You don't get any new injuries, which is great, right? We've seen the Bills suffer wild card round injuries that affected the divisional round and even at times the AFC Championship game. You get that extra rest, and obviously the Bills have a week 6 bye. It's an early season bye. So you get healthy. You don't get more injured. You start in the divisional round. You get a much-needed rest after your bye week falls early. It's a big deal. And right now, things are looking really good for the Bills to be able to claim that number one seed. So on today's episode, I want to break down this path for the Bills. I want to, first of all, have a conversation about the Bills and what we've learned through 3 games. Then I want to focus in on the AFC East. Then we'll get into the rest of the AFC and talk a little bit about the NFC opponents remaining on the Bills' schedule. I want to consider this Bills team through 4 phases: rush offense, pass offense, rush defense, and pass defense. And I want to tell you where the Bills currently rank in EPA per play when it comes to those 4 categories. And EPA is a metric that I believe in, and we talk about it a lot on this show. And so I want to take this opportunity to once again define EPA for you, because I think it is the best way to measure a function of a football team. It's the best measurement we have. And Bruce Nolan from the Bruce Exclusive has a great definition of EPA that I want to read to you. Bruce says, quote, "When a team has the ball on a specific yard line and a certain down and distance with a certain amount of clock remaining, there are thousands of examples of that exact same down, distance, time trifecta occurring. These thousands of examples taken together can give us an average of how many points it would be expected that the team would score on that drive. Once a play is completed, there will be a new down and distance, and as such, a new expected points total for that drive. The difference between the starting expected points number and the ending expected points number is EPA." So right now, the Buffalo Bills offense ranks number 4 in pass EPA offensively and number 1 comfortably when it comes to the rushing offense EPA. I think the best way you can sum up the Bills offense through 3 games is by giving you these numbers. The Buffalo Bills are the only team ever across any 3-game stretch in the history of the NFL to win all 3 games, score 100 or more points, not turn over the ball, have less than 15 penalties, average 150 or more rushing yards per game, and average 250 or more passing yards per game. A historic stretch. literally the best rushing offense in the league, a top 5 passing offense. They're scoring. They're not making mistakes. They're not turning it over. And they're moving the ball through the air and on the ground highly effectively. The Bills offense is terrific, and I'm excited because I think there's more for it to unlock. I think there's more to come for Josh Palmer. I think there's more to come for the Bills running back depth. I think there's more to come for Shakir and Kincaid and Coleman. Elijah Moore factoring in. I love where this offense is headed. Performing at a high level. Excited to see how the vertical passing offense opens up as the season moves along. Something that really turned the corner last year, week 17, through the playoffs and against the Ravens in week 1. Obviously, not much impact there against the Jets and Dolphins. But I'm excited to see how that piece evolves. Defensively, there's questions, right? The Bills rank number 15 in rushing defense EPA and number 20 in passing defense EPA. So average run defense, below average pass defense. And I think the bigger story is, once again, third downs. Last year in 2024, the Bills were 29th in third down defense, allowing conversions on 44% of opportunities. Right now, this year, they're at 43%. And that is heavily impacted by the Jets in week 2, where the Jets went 0 for 11 on third downs. If you look at week 1 against the Ravens, where they went 6 of 11, and week 3 against the Dolphins, when they went 10 of 15, those 2 games, the Bills allowed third down conversions on 62% of opportunities. It's not good. And so I think you can acknowledge the current issues of the defense, but also understand that context and see where it can go. Bills have played the last 2 games without Ed Oliver. We saw what he can do in week 1. They don't have Michael Hoyt or Larry Ogunjobi or Maxwell Hairston. Those are reinforcements that are coming. And not only do you not have those players, you're leaning more into rookies. TJ Sanders playing a lot of reps, not necessarily performing well. Deion Walker's been better than Sanders, but still you sense the rookie in him as well. Cole Bishop still getting reps, right? You're adapting to some new schematic elements. They're playing 3 linebackers way more than ever. There's more D-line stunts. There's more pressure schemes. And so, yeah, you should be discouraged right now because the Bills have earned that criticism for how the third down defense has performed to this point. But I think you can also look at the opportunities ahead of this unit and hopefully find some optimism. Doesn't have to be perfect right now, right? That's not the point. It's week 3 or entering week 4. The point is to keep improving, get these reinforcements, settle into what you want to be as a defense, and then incrementally improve throughout the season and hit your stride when it matters most. So, yeah, we acknowledge where it is right now. We accept the context. And now let's continue to set up these measuring opportunities down the line to really tell the story of what this Bills defense, particularly on third downs, can be. Because if you are a yards per game person, which you shouldn't be, the Bills have a top 10 defense. Who cares? Who cares? That's not yards per game is not a great measurement of defense. Like, we got to evolve. The metrics are better out there than just yards per game. Because right now, the Bills are top 10 in defense. Really? Really? No, they're not. Because there's better ways to measure things. So, yeah, we're looking for that to improve. I'm looking for that to improve. But I'm excited because I see the path for that to happen. Real quick on the rest of the AFC East. Doesn't look like there's going to be much resistance this year, folks. You got 2 0-3 teams in the Jets and Dolphins. We'll see about these Jets. They can't really play defense, right? There's not enough dynamic things about their offense, and they don't have a defense. Year 1 of a major overhaul. Dolphins are 0-3. Obviously, they've showed a lot more fight. They've horrible against the Colts in week 1. Started horribly against the Patriots in week 2, but they've been a lot more competitive, right? Obviously against the Bills, and nearly came back against New England. But that 0-3 hole, coupled with the leadership concerns and, do they have enough horses on defense? They're banged up as always on offense. I don't see them as a team that's really going to get it going. Patriots are 1-2. They beat the Dolphins They lost to the Raiders in week 1. Raiders aren't a real team, right? And then they lose by 7 to the Steelers, and they couldn't get out of their own way. I think they turned it over 5 times in like just back-breaking turnovers. So that's a team that I think has some pieces, but still has to figure it out. A young quarterback in his 4th scheme in 4 years. And Drake May, I like Drake May. If I was a fan of a team that had a young quarterback, right, I'd want it to be Drake May. I like Drake May. But he's still a young player that's figuring it out and learning a new offense, and there's a lot that needs to come together. I think they're the team that I'm most concerned about, right, in this AFC East this year and into the future. But, obviously it's a young team that's got to figure things out with a new coaching staff, young quarterback. So, barring some kind of crazy injury or something like that, it looks like the Bills are primed for their 6th consecutive AFC East title. All right. We'll talk about the rest of the AFC here next, including the 1-2 Baltimore Ravens. Folks, be sure to stick with me. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than just put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is Terrell Bernard's interception against Tua. The Bills protecting a touchdown lead. 3 minutes left in the game. Dolphins threatening to score. Terrell Bernard picks off the ball. A great read and put the Bills in position to ice the game. And when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Welcome back, folks. Let's talk about this AFC North situation. Right now, the Bengals and Steelers are 2-1. You have the Ravens at 1-2, the Browns at 1-2. The Bengals did what they wanted. They wanted to start fast, right? They get to a 2-0 start. They hadn't been 2-0 ever under Zach Taylor. They've been really bad early in the season under Zach Taylor. And here we are. Joe Burrow, turf toe, out 3 months. And I don't believe Jake Browning is the type of quarterback that can keep this ship afloat and give this team a chance. I don't think much of Jake Browning. And I don't think much of the Bengals roster outside of Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase, right? Can they run the ball? Do they have an offensive line? Is there anything good about their defense outside of Trey Hendrickson? I don't think so. So I don't think the Bengals are a real threat here without Joe Burrow. I thought it was going to be a battle with Joe Burrow. Now we've got Jake Browning. Yikes. So unfortunately for them, they start 2-0, but their outlook is very poor. And of course, they got smoked by Minnesota last week. Steelers are 2-0. I'll tell you what, the Steelers are 2-1. Steelers are 2-1. A lot of questions about the Steelers to me. I haven't been impressed by the rushing offense. And defensively, it's not been what I thought. That defense looks old. It looks like it's got some age on it. I mean, they beat the Jets. They need help to beat the Jets in week 1. They gave up 30-something points to the Jets. We saw that offense. It can't move the ball. Then they got smoked by Seattle. And then they beat the Patriots by 7 when they're +4 in takeaways. I don't know. The Steelers are a team that I think is potent, and maybe it'll come together in some ways, but I'm not sure that overall operation is dynamic enough. I don't trust Rodgers outside of rhythm throws, and defensively they have struggled. I don't think they can rely on. I mean, if you're +4 in takeaways, you probably should win that game by more than 7 points and kind of need some heroics at the end to pull it off. The Ravens are 1-2. How about that, huh? 1-2 Ravens. Taking losses to the Bills and now Lions. Defensively, they've given up the most points in the league. Lamar Jackson's playing well. Derrick Henry, 3 fumbles in 3 games, 2 of them absolute backbreakers. You know, the one against the Bills had a backbreaker last night against the Lions. But defensively, it doesn't look like that team has it. And they've given up the most points in the NFL, and that includes they got to play the Browns in week 2. Their upcoming schedule, Chiefs, Texans, Rams. I don't know about the Texans. And what's exciting between the Chiefs and Ravens is someone's going to be 1-3 after this weekend. Ravens are a potent team. I don't want to deal with them. Like, let's not get it twisted, but this is shaping up very well. I mean, the Bills have a 2.5 game lead over Baltimore and could be positioned well if there's another meeting that it's in Buffalo. Then you have the Browns at 1-2. I don't take them seriously. Their run defense looks incredible. I mean, really, their defense in general looks incredible. They stole one against the Packers this past week, but I'm not sure they could score. And, they're going to need their defense to be on point and probably keep opponents to under 17 points to have a chance. I think it's a tough script. But I think they're also a tough out because of their defense, right? So the Bills in the AFC North, they have games against the Bengals, Steelers, and Browns left. They've already handled the Ravens. I feel good about those opportunities for Buffalo. Bills should avoid Burrow. We'll see about the Steelers. And if he can score 20 on the Browns, I think he can win. And I'd be surprised if this Bills offense that shows up seemingly every week with 30 points can't get 20 on the Browns. AFC South, how about those 3-0 Colts? Daniel Jones, Indiana Jones, Danny Dimes, all the great nicknames. Good for him. Looks like he's the next reclamation success at quarterback. And actually, that's a conversation that's coming out on Tuesday with me and Kyle Krabs. We're going to talk about these reclamation projects at quarterback. Daniel Jones, of course, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, but kind of looking at the next wave and then foiling these types of investments at quarterback with high draft picks and those scenarios. So a really cool team building conversation coming up on Tuesday on the Locked On NFL Scouting podcast. Would encourage you to check that out. But right now it looks great for Daniel Jones and the Colts. I thought that roster was good. You just didn't know how good Daniel Jones was, right? And he's settling in nicely. Obviously, he's repped, at this point in his career. Has been through some adversity, and it's his time, right? And he's playing well. Now they have 3 wins, one coming against the Dolphins in week 1, and they beat the Broncos last week or 2 weeks ago in week 2. And, they needed some help with the field goal leveraging issue there with Denver at the end of the game. And then they beat the Titans. So they have 3 wins, but they've beaten teams with a combined, 1-8 record. So I'm mindful of that. And they've got some tougher tasks coming up. They get the Rams, Chargers, Steelers as part of 3 of their next 5 games. They also play the Cardinals. And when I bring up the Cardinals, I think that's a pretty good defense. So I think we'll find out some things about the Colts. Jonathan Taylor looks great. They can run the ball, opportunistic in the passing game, complementary defense. It looks good. But we'll see what type of staying power they have. I don't think there's much resistance in this division, which helps them. But, I mean, the Bills got to play the Colts in the playoffs. Okay, that's fine. But credit to them. They're 3-0. I think we have a lot to learn. Jaguars are 2-1. I don't know about that team. Offensively, they look like a mess. They've generated 9 takeaways so far on defense, 3 in each game. So, credit to them for that. I don't know about this offense, though. Trevor Lawrence, situationally poor, accuracy issues, not working his progressions well. Horrible giveaways at bad times. I don't know if they can continue to be that opportunistic on defense. So, I mean, they're 2-1, but that feels like a high variance team. They're talented, but high variance. Texans are 0-3. Boy, that offense looks bad. New coordinator. Shuffled up that offensive line, redid the receivers, new running back room, but I mean, it's not coming together well. And for Houston, I think their defense is awesome. I think it's phenomenal defense, but offensively, they just don't have it. They just don't have it. And C.J. Stroud came out and declared himself as better than Josh Allen and the top 4 quarterback in the NFL after his rookie season. Yeah, well, hopefully he's eating on some humble pie and realizing that doing it again and again and again and again, that's the hard part, and he has not proven to be able to do that. And if you watch his rookie season, you knew that there was a lot of unsustainable success that he had and some turnover luck that he was on the good side of. So we'll see about that Texans team, but that offense looks like a mess. And look, I know that some of the surrounding factors for C.J. Stroud are important to keep in mind, but he makes them worse with how he holds onto the football, and his own like tardy processing and decision making. So yeah, he's culpable here. It's not just that his offensive line's not giving him a chance. He's bad too. Titans are 0-3. Don't take them seriously. I think Brian Callahan might be the worst head coach in the NFL. Horrible. I mean, I have irreconcilable differences watching the Titans play football and the decisions that man makes. And then his demeanor, everything about him I don't like. So, rookie quarterback, Cam Ward, it's a tough situation, right? That's what's hard to be a rookie quarterback. You got to step into that situation with that bad coach. You have young, skilled players, injuries, right? Calvin Ridley's not coming through, injuries to the offensive line, and now you got to go be the savior to the Titans. It's tough. It's a tough ask. I think he's talented. Obviously he deserves his opportunity to let it play out, but I don't think this team's going anywhere with Brian Callahan as the coach. All right, coming up next, the Chiefs 1-2, the Chargers 3-0. We'll talk AFC West and the NFC opponents on the Bills' schedule. So, folks, be sure to stick with me. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however I want to bet, whether it's player props, building a same-game parlay, over-under, spreads, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. I had some fun with the Monday night game with the Ravens and Lions. I hit big on Jahmyr Gibbs. I had him for 2 touchdowns, and I also had Mark Andrews as an anytime touchdown scorer. I was feeling like he was going to break out of his slump, and we nailed both of those. So it was a fun night. It made that Monday night game even more exciting. Plus, I had a profit boost baked into that as well. So check it out. If you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, folks, welcome back. The Chargers are 3-0 in the AFC West, and right now this is the team that I am taking the most serious as a threat to the number 1 seed for the Bills. I will acknowledge that I think their schedule has been soft, and it's going to be soft. It's not a very tough course for the Chargers. They are definitely taking advantage of, being a third-place team last year. But Justin Herbert's playing great. There's no doubt about it. And the receivers are coming along. Quentin Johnson looks great. Keenan Allen looks good. Of course, Ladd McConkey. And honestly, you thought the Chargers would run the ball better than they have. And I think that's a piece of their operation that will come. But we're throwing it all over the yard. They got a good defense. Personnel-wise, I think there's a lot of pieces of that defense that would concern me. And they started great on defense last year, and they, kind of fell apart late. But if you're a Chargers fan, you should feel pretty encouraged. And, the Bills don't get a chance to play the Chargers in the regular season. But I think just if they continue to handle their business, the way that the schedule shakes out for them is going to position them to win a ton of games. Now, we'll see. You got to keep doing it, right? That's the challenge in the NFL, is sustaining success and continuing to stack wins. And they're going to face a lot of teams that, even in their own division, where there's going to be, I hate to call it desperation, but, got to have it moments where they're going to face a lot of tough situations with teams that got to have it. But they're 3-0, and they're positioned well. I think this is the team to watch the rest of the way for the Bills. And I put out a poll in our Discord channel on Monday, and by far this was the team that was identified by the Discord as, the third best team in the AFC. But so the Ravens are 1-2. Maybe you start to wonder if they're a top 2 team. The Raiders are 1-2. Don't take them seriously. Broncos are 1-2. That's a team that I think has kind of disappointed so far this year. Their one win came against the Titans, if I'm not mistaken, and they lost to the Colts and Chargers, but really close losses to the Colts and Chargers. I think defensively they've kind of been the team I feared they would be, where I don't know about their run defense and how stout they are up front. I mean, John Taylor ran all over that team. Obviously have a pass rush, but, doesn't look like Bo Nix has taken that step. He started last year slow and then kind of settle into it. I think their offense will get better. But I think they're a good team. I'm not sure they're a great team. I think you have the 1-2 Chiefs. How about that? 1-2 Chiefs. They beat the Giants. They have upcoming games against the Ravens, Lions, Commanders, Bills. They have to go to Denver, the Colts, the Chargers. We'll find out. But I think that offense has been bumbling for now 2+ seasons. They can't run the ball. They don't have a down-the-field passing offense. Pass rush looks poor. They're the Chiefs. They get the benefit of the doubt. They figure it out all the time. They know how to mash the button and turn it on. But they're in a bit of a hole. They get the Ravens this week. And the schedule, for them, is definitely challenging. And obviously that 15-2 team last year that had pixie dust sprinkled all over it, well, some normalization that comes now. Questions, right, about the Chiefs. I'll be the last guy on planet Earth to write them off. I will be. Still got 15, right? But 1-2. Staring at 1-3 and a tough schedule ahead. Questions about pretty much every function of the team. And then you just kind of look, you could see there's some weird energy, right? With riffs on the sideline, Kelsey and Reed, Kelsey and Jawan Taylor, Chris Jones and Drew Tranquil. We'll see. Pressing a little bit. The Bills have some NFC opponents. Obviously, the Eagles are 3-0. They haven't played well, but they're 3-0. They've had issues, but they're one of those teams that knows how to rally. Jalen Hurts knows how to turn it on. You'll watch Jalen Hurts for parts of a game, and you'll wonder if the guy has ever played the quarterback position in his life, and then he'll just start hitting throws all over the place. 3-0. Obviously, they needed the back-to-back field goal blocks to beat the Rams. The Bucs are 3-0. Bills have to deal with them. You get both of those opponents in Orchard Park. Baker Mayfield proven that he's a gamer. But their injuries are mounting up, right? Mike Evans just got hurt. Wirfs is still working back. They have two other starting offensive linemen that are down. Kalijah Cansey, one of their best defensive linemen, is out for the year. Just seems to keep piling up for Tampa. And obviously they're finding a way to win games. They needed a bit of a miracle to beat the Jets right this past week. They've needed 3 miracles, right? I think Baker Mayfield's had 3 game-winning drives in 3 games so far to start the year. But they're winning. And I think that speaks to who their quarterback is. Baker Mayfield's a dude. So they'll be a tough out, but it's a team that I feel like has faced a lot of attrition already this season. Then you get the Panthers, Falcons, and Saints. Now, I don't think much of these teams. And Panthers beat the Falcons 30-0 last week. The Falcons are just not a very sound operation. Their defense looked pretty good 2 weeks ago with their young players that they all drafted. But, Michael Penix has been a disaster. He's got the worst passer rating in the NFL with a clean pocket this year. His one touchdown pass was to Bijan Robinson in week 1. It was a 50-yard catch and run. I don't know. I was surprised at the amount of people that picked the Bills to lose. You see the schedule projections for the Bills, and they're like, "Oh, Atlanta on the road Monday Night Football, they're going to lose that game." I'm like, really? Maybe they will, but that was not one that had me super nervous. So we'll see what that team, how it normalizes. A lot of young components, right? I get it, but I think some of that preseason hype on the Falcons was a little misguided. I think that quarterback's got a lot to prove. Their team has a lot to prove in terms of knowing how to win games. And I still think there's a lot of questions about that defense. And the Saints are 0-3, might be the worst team in the league. That's who the Bills played this week. So I look, this looks really favorable for the Bills, whether it's the division, the conference, the overall schedule and how it stacks up, but mostly who the Bills are, right? That's what's most important. You can talk about opponents and all stuff. What have the Bills shown you? They're showing you a great offense. Questions about defense. Can still take away the ball, but the path for the defense to improve is right there, and it needs to happen. It needs to happen. Need to stay healthy. Need to get healthy. But you feel like this is a really good path. It changes quick. That's the thing about the NFL. It changes so quick, right? If you're the Bengals, you're 2-0. Your quarterback has turf toe. 3 months out. changes like that, right? So it's looking good. Take it 1 week at a time. You know the Bills will, but we're not the players. We get to take, zoom out, look at the big picture, look ahead. We can do that. So that's what we did here on this episode of Locked On Bills, is we had a little extra time here between games, so we had the opportunity to work in a new conversation. So appreciate you being here. We'll start to focus on the Saints and get ready for that game the rest of the week. The Bills have an opportunity to get to 4-0. I think there's 6 3-0 teams left in the NFL. So hopefully the Bills continue to be among the undefeated, stack wins, get this number 1 seed, and really put together a favorable path for Josh Allen to lead this team to the Super Bowl. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us here today. As always, I kindly ask that you share, subscribe, rate, and review. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bills. Look forward to catching up with you again real soon.